Hey there, it's Chris from Good Roads. Autumn is my favorite time of year. It cools down, the foliage is beautiful, especially in the Northeastern United States, and of course, there's Halloween. It's a time of year where all the lore, ghost stories, and mischief that we've collected over centuries gets celebrated. What more could you ask for? Yep, I love it. In the comments on a couple of my custom bushing videos, you guys have been either suggesting that I sell some or asking me to do a giveaway, and what better opportunity than this, right? Maybe we could do a spooky set of Halloween bushings to give away and sell here on the channel. So I gave it a shot. I made these. I actually made 27 sets of these, 2-color, swirl, custom Halloween themed bushings. It was about 3 weeks of casting and curing and trial and error. And I was gonna give away 2 sets to, the viewers here on the channel, and I was gonna sell the other 25. And I was hoping to get it out right in time for the holidays so that we could celebrate. But we ran into some problems. To all appearances, they came out really good. The mold system I came up with works great. The castings look flawless, honestly. But if you stuck around to the end of the last video that I made on that freestyle deck, you would have seen that they failed. In fact, one of the sets that I tested just crumbled to pieces inside the trucks. And honestly, that was pretty heartbreaking. Not just because of the wasted work, although that really does suck, but also because I was really excited for the giveaway and to do something cool and themed and seasonal here on the channel. I was gonna dress up in a costume and make a big goofy video and do a whole thing about it, and instead the project just slammed right into a brick wall. I know that one of the reasons the content I put out there is valuable is that you guys are learning along with me. So I figured the best thing I could do for you, the audience, would be to put my failure on full display, take a hard look at what went wrong, what we could do better next time, and what might be salvageable. As best I can tell, the problem is with the urethane that I used. Because like I said, the castings came out beautifully, it just structurally failed within the material. The bushings are made from Smooth-On's PMC 790, which is the same urethane that I used to cast that first skateboard wheel that I made. And I'm not quite sure what the issue was, but I had way more problems with the bushings than I did with the wheel. It might simply be that the bushings are subjected to way more intense compressive forces than the wheel is, but I have a feeling there's something else going on. So let's take a look at the ways that this might have gone wrong. There's 2 potential things on my end that I can think of that might have contributed to the cure failing the way that it did. The first is I might have overpigmented my resin. I used urethane pigments, which are from the same manufacturer, designed specifically to dye this kind of material. But when you're dyeing urethane or epoxy or any other mixed chemical like that, when the content of your dye gets to be a little bit more than, say, 5%, it can start to affect the physical properties of the cure. Now, I don't really think I added more than that, but I was aiming for a specific color instead of a specific weight or ratio of the dyes. So maybe that contributed to the bushings failing the way they did and the urethane shearing as easily as it did. Another possibility is that I might have cured the resin too cold. I'm working out of my basement, and as we're getting into fall, the temperature is dropping. I don't think it got exceptionally frigid at any point, but there's a good chance that the temperature in my shop dipped below the recommended 70-degree curing temperature that's spec'd in the data sheet for this particular resin. So that's another possible explanation for the failures we're seeing, too low of a cure temperature. Now, everything else about the process I've done exactly the way that I have in the past that's gotten me good results, so those are really the only 2 reasons I can think of that the faults in this cure might be mine, might have been things that I contributed to. I'm both trying to own my mistakes and trying to provide a little room to give Smooth-On, the manufacturer of this resin, the benefit of the doubt. But even if these bushings had worked out, I don't think I would ever want to use this resin again. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even really sure where to start talking about how frustrating it was to work with. As I mentioned in the wheel video, this resin is super viscous, which makes measuring, mixing, and pouring really slow and difficult to do properly. And those aren't good qualities for a material that needs to be measured accurately, mixed and poured quickly and gotten into the pressure pot so that you can get a good cure. And speaking of curing, this resin, same as last time, has a 48-hour cure time. And for this project, I walked away with 27 usable sets of 2 bushings, but I had probably a 20 to 25% failure rate. And after casting that many bushings, that failure rate's my fault, by the way, it was bubbles in the mold, so let's not blame that on the resin. But after doing that many castings, a cure time that long just isn't feasible for a project like this. The urethane that I was working with in my earlier bushing experiments, it had a lower durometer, but it had like a 4-hour cure time. So I could have done multiple batches in a day, instead of doing a batch every 2 days. At the end of the day, I think there are probably better options out there, and for the qualities of the urethane we're looking for, this one is not worth the wait. Another quality of this urethane that I find to be a little irritating, that I think makes it a bad candidate for casting small runs of bushings or doing them on the hobbyist level, is it is a 2-to-1 mixing ratio, which on paper doesn't seem so bad. There's a lot of urethanes out there that have some really, really insane ratios. The 8-to-10 ratios out there, or the 95-to-100 by weight ratios out there, I think are meant to do in a larger volume, and also you'd need a very, very good scale. So by comparison, 2-to-1 doesn't seem too bad, which is one of the reasons I entertain playing with this resin at all. But there are resins out there that are 1-to-1 by volume or weight. So no matter how you're measuring your resin, all you have to do is get them lined up and you're ready to go. And I think for us, that should be a quality we're seeking out as we're trying to find a really good resin or set of resins in order to make these parts at home. Another issue that I had that in part was because of the mixing ratio was the resin came in 3 bottles. I got 1 bottle of part B and 2 bottles of part A. And I opened the first bottle of part A when I made the wheel, and I started casting for this project about a week later. And in that week, that bottle of part A crystallized. It went completely solid and it was completely unusable, which basically means I got half as much urethane as I paid for, because that rendered half of the bottle of the part B obsolete as well. And this stuff isn't cheap, so getting half of what I paid for is really frustrating. In addition, when the part A crystallized, it was really crumbly, which makes me wonder if some of these shearing and crumbling tendencies we're seeing in the cast bushings are a result of materials that were past their prime. Now, if any of that's correct, there is a possibility that I just got a bad batch. But this isn't the first time I've had this happen with smooth-on products. I had the same thing happen with the hard urethane that I was using in the snowboard sidewall experiments. Same thing. I had the part A crystallize when I was partway through an experiment. Now I understand that some of these chemicals have a shelf life, but a week-long shelf life? For a hobbyist level material that has a 48-hour cure time to begin with? It kind of seems like there's no point to this urethane at all unless you're trying to cast the whole batch at once. So what's the deal? Are these super specific niche resins? Is Smooth-On shipping out old resin that's been sitting on the shelf so that it's gonna kick as soon as it gets exposed to open air? This is really frustrating. But on the other hand, it doesn't really matter because I'm never using this resin again, and there are many, many more suppliers out there that I wanna check out before I go back and take another look at Smooth-On's products. Okay, so the project was a failure, and we talked about the negatives, but there are a couple positives that we can discuss here as well. Issues with the urethane aside, I've pretty much settled on a casting method that gets me repeatable, gorgeous results every time. And this is it right here. It's a 4-bushing squish mold that I designed and 3D printed parts for, and then used those parts to cast silicone molds. I've actually made 4 sets of these molds, and I've put them through some serious abuse making this run of bushings. They work, they're easy to use, and they get great results, and it is my goal here to get you guys out there making your own parts. So as of right now, the designs for these molds are free and open source. The STL files for printing, the Fusion 360 working files, and the more generic step file format of this project are all available right now on the Good Roads Collective website for free. They're free to share, free to modify, free to make money off of. I'm releasing them under the Creative Commons Attribution license, so if you do make use of them, just make sure to give me a nod. And if you don't have a 3D printer, I'm also going to be selling kits so that anybody who wants to take a stab at making bushings can. My 3D printer is out of commission at the moment, but as soon as I've got it up and running again, the parts are on order, the kits for the bushing molds, and also kits to upgrade the Harbor Freight pressure pot, which you guys have been asking for, will be available on the site. And coming up soon on the channel, I'll have a really detailed video about how to use the kit to make the molds, to make the bushings. So there's really gonna be no excuses, guys. Get out there and try making some bushings. Now, let's talk urethanes. I've had success with specialty resin and chemicals urethanes. I've had a mix of success and failures with Smooth-On's urethanes, and I also got a lot of tips on resin manufacturers from you guys. I feel like we're still on the hunt for a good set of urethanes that we can use to make quality board components. And I want to test as many good candidates as we can so that we can find the resins that really excel so that we can make the best components possible. But here's the catch. These aren't cheap materials, especially in conditions like this one where we're not sure whether or not they're going to work and they don't bear usable results at all. So here's what I did. I put together a Patreon page. I know times are tight for a lot of people right now, so it feels pretty ridiculous to be asking for money. But if you can contribute, even in a really small way, you'd be helping me continue these resin experiments so that we can find a urethane that we can use, or urethanes, to make really good parts. And since you guys would be pitching in, I feel like it then becomes my job to get way more precise, thorough, and rigorous with my experiments. And here's how I'd like to do that. I'll come up with a standard suite of experiments that test the quality of the resin in ways that relate directly to how they would be used in board parts. I'd really like to do a ball drop rebound test so we can get actual numbers on rebound, which isn't really available anywhere. I'd like to do an experiment that shows the relationship to how hard you lean on a deck versus how much the trucks turn with any given set of bushings. So like a compressive resistance test. And after this last experiment, I'm realizing I also need a longevity test. So some kind of machine that will work the bushings and put them through their paces for at least 24 hours to see if the resins hold up to that kind of abuse. So those are the ideas that I've got bouncing around right now, and a cool aspect of it is if those machines, when those machines get built, we can use them to test professionally made bushings too, which should be super interesting on its own and give us a really good benchmark to compare against as we're testing materials that we can get as hobbyists or smaller producers. So that would kind of be the short-term point of the Patreon. I've got a link to that down below. If you're able to contribute, you would be helping me out with those experiments and with everything else on the channel as well, and you'd be helping support and grow into other projects as we move into the future. If you do check out the page, you'll see that there's a stretch goal for making trucks because I really want to make trucks. And that project would go down the same way the bushings are. I would do my best to find good materials, easy, repeatable techniques, and try to lower the barrier and make it possible to make these components at home. Yeah, that's a project I really want to take a crack at, but I just can't afford the equipment for it yet. So there it is, a critical look back at a failed project and what we can learn from it. We've got to do a lot more urethane testing, but we've also kind of got a way to fund that and maybe help move it along. We've got an open source system for making really precise, good bushing casts, and that's available if you have a 3D printer right now. If you don't have a 3D printer, those kits are coming soon. So, all told, not too bad for a failure. As for my feelings on the matter, I'm still really bummed that I couldn't get you guys a spooky set of custom bushings for Halloween, but there'll be plenty of opportunities for fun limited edition parts in the future, and with your guys' help, I'll be able to make better parts faster, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to. So, take a look at the Patreon, grab yourself some print files, make yourself some custom bushings, just don't do it out of Smooth-On's PMC 790. Subscribe if you haven't, leave any questions down in the comments, I do my best to get to them. As always, I love having you guys along for the journey, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Complete whiff. Oh well. So here's what I did. I put together a Patreon page. I understand that tights are times right now. Tights are times. You can tell time with your pants. It's amazing. We live in the future.